from a nerd boy standpoint, this must be kind of like a bit of a awesome moment for you. I'm just wondering, like.
Oh yeah, I mean, just looking at the Tron poster and getting the Tron call sheets with the Tron logo on it, I geek out every time. Completely.
Did you take it home and put it on your refrigerator and you're like,
I just kind of live in the Tron world constantly, all the time. Yeah, I keep everything.
Soundtrack going.
Yeah, I was 12 when the first film came out, and it really kind of changed my world. It was one of those big formative cinema experiences for me, if not the first one, and so it's been amazing to be a part of it.
I know that, but I think maybe you saw it yesterday. Did you guys see what was that like for you? Because obviously it's like you work on this project, they don't, you see bits and pieces, but then finally to see the final, was that interesting for you to kind of like see yourself on the screen and looking the way you did in the film?
Absolutely, absolutely. I really didn't know what fully to expect. I mean, I had an idea of what I was going to see, and I think with it all together, with music, with everything, it was a very quick 2 hours. It was such a ride.
Those costumes leave nothing to the imagination. So was that the day you're like, when you got when you saw the costumes, you're like, all right, no carbs for the next 2 months,
No, I mean, it was kind of like I just had to keep strong. I mean, really, I never really try to watch too much of what I eat, and but more of just keeping strong, because it was very specific. You couldn't fluctuate whatsoever. But the suits was also a process. Like, it started out as something totally different than it was. I mean, I always had the same vision, but it changed, and it took, months before we had it right. I think the first day of set was first day working was the first time I actually was in the real proper suit.
When they start modeling the outfit, because it is totally made to measure, and so the first thing, I don't know if it was the same with you, the very first thing you do is you put on a sort of lycra unitard, and you stand there, and a group of women stand and look at you in a unitard, and there's nothing like that to motivate you to lose a lot of weight. Because every time you come back for another fitting, you have to put that on again. And so that really was a very good motivation.
And they measure every inch of you. And sometimes you just don't want to know what that measures. You just don't want to know. You don't need to know the numbers.
When you're in a film like Tron, the characters that you play could turn out to be very, because it's digital, and therefore you can be very like one-dimensional and analog. So how do you kind of make it into something more exciting for you as actors than to kind of enhance, what you ended up doing for the screen? Well,
when you're in a film that has so much technological advancements in it, you've got to be careful you don't just disappear under it. You don't want the film to be just something where you're like, oh, it looks amazing, because you're going to get bored. It's a story. Everyone has to follow the story. So in terms of my character, my process is exactly the same, whether you're playing a werewolf, a vampire, a computer program, a prime minister, an interview, or whatever it is. And so I started with, what is going on for this character, what does he want, and then start looking into different references and thinking about characters that you could sort of draw on and all that kind of stuff. So you build it up from the inside all the time, and then hopefully when you kind of burst onto the screen, it's got a kind of an impact then.
And Beau, for you, was it?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest things for Gem 2 is kind of playing with the idea of new emotions. I mean, that was something Joe really wanted to play with, was the fact that she's a program and she doesn't have any emotions. So play with when you meet Garrett and you see him for the first time, and what is curiosity? What does that feel like? I think that was something interesting to play with.
Last question. I mean, to shoot a film in 3D, a lot of actors don't get the opportunity to kind of work in this kind of setup. Was it different this time around? Did it make you more technical as actors in the sense that?
Not really. It's not really my job to think about that. I think you have to be aware of what your role is and what's required of you. And what was required of me was to create this character and to really, have impact in that way. So I can't say that it really. I wasn't doing more sort of like ooh to the camera things. It wasn't really that.
I mean, there's much more cat. There's always. I love watching. When a take happens and then there's a cut. It's crazy. You feel like you're in the middle of a bubble and people are just running this way and that way, and all the work happens as you sit there silent and watch. And there's just more of that. There was so many more people and so many more things happening, and so there's just much more chaos in between, just because there's just so much more going on.